Lately, I've been having some deep thoughts as to what the world will look like when Google is gone and what or how a average person will live when search is no longer a part of their life. And it's been an interesting thought because if you look at the early history of the internet from the early 90s, probably if you want to go way back, the 80s, through about 2004, the internet as we know it existed in a bunch of message boards with links. And those who controlled these BBCs could control the internet because when you logged into AOL or you logged into any other service, nothing existed outside of those message boards unless you had another link to a different message board that knew a bunch of different links. They were the gatekeepers of the internet of their time. And we do not know any of them today. They got replaced. They just, one day they were there in use every single day. In fact, I remember AOL, you logged into AOL. I might be showing my age here. And there were just links after links, a wall of links of wherever you wanted to go, it was there. And people paid good money to be added to these message boards. And then one day they were all gone, replaced with a very elongated oval with the little magnifying glass that allowed you to search. And that was the early days where you had Jeeves and Yahoo and all these other engines that have been ultimately replaced with Google. And people now can't imagine a world without Google search. In fact, it dominates most of the internet. But if you just think for a moment, Google is on its way out. And we see this all the time, not only in the data being reflected, but also in the way people are searching for things. They're no longer going to Google, but using Google only momentarily to get to a place, a source of information that they could trust. For instance, Reddit or TikTok or YouTube, someplace where the search is more relevant to them. And that's coming about through a variety of factors. It isn't just a single cause, but I will say mostly it's Google there's a word for it. It's not exactly appropriate for common audiences. So I'll just say this: in making your product bad, or it's intentionally making your product worse to benefit yourself in order to increase your revenue streams. And you lower the value for the customer to deliver a much worse product that brings you more money in the short term. And I do say the short term because the post-Google world is going to be a fundamentally different place. And this does tie into AI. More specifically, the first place people are going to go in the future to look for things, to find things, to increase their knowledge is not Wikipedia. It is going to be a multimodal model. And if the data given to the multimodal model is of high quality, because it isn't so much just training data on everything that the internet spews out, because the internet spews out a lot of not high quality information, and that has to be eventually filtered and pruned, and you had to do back propagation in order to, tell the model that some of the data has as junk. But eventually people, and including the AI industry, is coalescing around high quality, effective, useful data. And that typically comes out to be research papers not written in the last 3 years or other pre-curated information that allows the AI to deliver, even though it's generative and it's hallucinating some of these answers, it's hallucinating them in a way that is in a controlled manner, and it's citing where it's getting that information from. So if you sense that the answer that you're getting from the AI isn't exactly the way that you like it, or more specifically, doesn't sound or pass the spell test, you can click on the sources and then you'd be given direct access to these papers and you could come up with your conclusion. And that's very much the way people operate today with search, is that they'll type into search, they'll look at the first few links, realize that they're SEO optimized, but they don't necessarily answer the question. You might have to go to page 4 or 5 in order to find something that not only passes a smell test, but actually is effective and works. And it gives you the information that you really need. Well, I see AI being able to deliver that information much more effectively, much more quickly, and with a better source, because they will have it cited straight in it. And that will become the default. People won't use Google. They'll just use the AI chatbot because they're not going to be bombarded with 15 sponsored ads. They're not going to be presented with all this because they have a choice. They could pay a little bit of money get access to this AI, or they could run it for free on their computer with an AI that's been generally trained on Wikipedia and can roughly point out where things need to go. And they could get that information. And that will be a post-Google world when it comes to search. And when that happens, Google search subsidizes so many other free services that it's really been difficult to really wrap my brain around beyond just how people will search for stuff in the future, or they'll just use AI, how this will impact things like entertainment. Right now, if we want to have a music video or we want to listen to music, a lot of people use YouTube. They'll use YouTube Music, they'll use Apple Music. And you can only listen to so much of your artist before that artist runs out. And what's terrifying the recording industry is that AI music is not only getting good, it's getting good enough to where people can have an infinite supply of the music that they love. And with the way multimodal models are going, they could have music videos custom made to the music that is being outputted almost in real time. Given how fast MPUs are, it's only a matter of time before the ability for them to quickly create music and process streams will allow people to listen to exactly what they want to, how they want to, in the style that they want to, with visualization, similar to the way Winamp used to have visualizations way back when. And it will be custom tailored to them. They won't ever need to manually search out music. They'll just talk to the AI and it'll be delivered to them. And that is not only just for audio. With multimodal models at sufficient compute capacity, you could have entire shows or books written. Now, I happen to enjoy good stories, like really, really good stories. And I tend to prefer them in a form called manga. And the difficulty with manga is that people pour their heart and their soul into their product. And there's a lot of stress. And over time, they burn out. And the series, no matter how good it was, just stops. Or even worse, the manga artist passes away. And at that point, you may enjoy the story, you may enjoy the artwork, but it's gone. It will no longer proceed to go on. And a lot of these good stories just end. Well, I definitely see in the not too distant future, thanks to the power of Sora and its understanding, and not just Sora, but also other models coming out, that if, let's say, you really enjoy the manga story and their artwork, but the mangaka's gone, well, they still own that IP, so obviously you can't copy it per se. But if you like that story, you could ask an AI, hey, can you create a manga in the style of manga artists that, is line drawn, it's maybe like highly detailed, and you slowly provide the information, what you're looking for, including the plot, and then you let the AI off, and using its ability to search the entire solution space, it could find plots and threads and tie them together into an overarching wide narrative that hooks you because it's exactly what you're looking for, and it's drawn at the speed as fast as AI could pump it out. So if you have an addiction where you just want to see the next page because the story grips you so well, that's exactly what AI is going to be bringing to the table. And this is already impacting the industry. For instance, when you look at translations, it used to be if you're bringing content over from Korea or from Japan or from any other country into America, they had to go through translators and they would try and culturally translate things. And that was good to help make things understood. However, over time, a lot of ideology that the original authors never wanted was being injected into the translations. So AI is now being used to provide a raw, literal translation of what was originally said without injections of ideology. And it's doing a superior job at a much cheaper rate. And that is the thing with AI, is that properly trained, it delivers consistently over time at a much cheaper rate than you would otherwise get from a well-tenured position. And I'll use the perfect case and example. We had a giant protest for multiple months where the Writers Guild of America was out there stating, hey, we want all these improvements to our working conditions, and we don't want AI used because AI will replace us. And they worked out a wonderful negotiated agreement with those studios. The problem is, they're unaware of their own history when it comes to Hollywood. And what I mean by that is, back when Thomas Edison was around, I know a long time ago, a lot of the recording and production houses were all in New York. And those studios, because they weren't bound by all the red tape that the ones in New York and all the East Coast had, they were able to mass and outproduce those to eventually we don't even remember them anymore. We just remember Hollywood. Well, it only took a person to make an animated video of, I believe they were using Stable Diffusion, their own anime, using just human actors, a little bit of green screen, and the ability to do in-painting and out-painting, and suddenly they had their own completed animated series. Well, it's not going to be very long before studios are going to be heavily leveraging this technology to create story, artwork, actors, whole plot lines with AI, and they'll do it at such a cheaper rate that the studios that signed the agreement with the Writers Guild of America, they will be supplanted. And that's coming for a lot of industries. That's coming for a lot of things people thought would be untouchable. Like, for example, in the RPA environment, they were so focused on selectors and keeping up with the constant changes that companies used to prevent automation that they never saw machine vision as a solution. And lo and behold, once they latched onto that, a lot of the techniques people developed in the RPA market are just being replaced completely with machine vision that can see exactly what the environment looks like as a user would, and then using the ability to plot through the solution space, are able to select things, post things, move around and navigate as if they're a human. So the post-work world is coming.